Hi, this video is here to help you with adding and subtracting fractions when they have the same denominator. Let's have a quick reminder about some fractions vocabulary. The denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction. It tells us how many equal parts the whole is divided into. The numerator is the number on the top of the fraction. It tells us how many equal parts we have. So for 5/8, the whole has been divided into 8 equal parts, and we have 5 of them. When we add or subtract fractions with the same denominator, we are calculating with the same type of fraction. In this example, we are adding ninths. We have 5/9 and 2/9, and when we combine them, we have 7/9. What do you notice about the fraction in the answer? What happens to the denominator? What happens to the numerator? The denominator has remained the same, 9, and the numerator is the total of the numerators in the calculation. 5 add 2 equals 7. When we add fractions with the same denominator, we just add the numerators, and the denominator stays the same. The same method works for subtracting fractions with the same denominator. If we are subtracting 2/7 from 6/7, we start with 6/7. We take away 2/7 and 4/7 remain. The denominator has remained the same, 7, and we just subtract the numerators. 6 take away 2 equals 4. When we subtract fractions with the same denominators, we just subtract the numerators, and the denominator stays the same. What's different about this addition calculation? Pause the video now and try to solve it. You could use a bar model to help you with this. When we add 4/5 and 3/5 together, we have 7/5. Using a bar model, we can see that this is more than the whole. It is 1 whole and 2/5. Remember, when we add fractions with the same denominators, we just add the numerators and the denominator stays the same. So for 4/5 add 3/5, the denominator 5 stays the same, and we add the numerators 4 and 3, which equals 7. 5/5 makes 1 whole, so we can take 5 of the 7/5 to make 1 whole, and we're left with 2/5. 4/5 plus 3/5 equals 7/5, which equals 1 and 2/5. Now it's your turn. Pause here to have a go at answering these calculations. Remember, you can use a bar model to help you if you prefer. How did you get on? Check your answers carefully and try using a bar model to help you fix any answers that you got wrong. Time for a challenge now. Can you help Sonny understand why his answers are wrong? Explain his mistake and correct the calculations. Pause now while you answer the question. How did you get on? Sonny's answers were incorrect because he's added and subtracted the denominators as well as the numerators in the fractions. For 3/4 add 2/4, he only needed to add the numerators, 3 and 2, which equals 5. The denominator, 4, needed to remain the same. So 3/4 add 2/4 equals 5/4, which is equal to 1 and 1/4. For 9/11 take away 5/11, he only needed to subtract the numerators, 9 take away 5, which equals 4. The denominator, 11, needed to remain the same. So 9/11 subtract 5/11 equals 4/11. I hope this video has helped you with adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. If you're looking for some more maths help, we've got lots more videos like this one available on the Twinkl website.
Hi there! In this video we are going to be adding and subtracting fractions with denominators that are multiples of the same number. It may help to watch the video about adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator first. Let's have a reminder about fraction vocabulary. The denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction. It tells us how many equal parts the whole is divided into. The numerator is the number at the top of the fraction. It tells us how many equal parts we have. So for 2/5, the whole has been divided into 5 equal parts and we have 2 of them. When we add or subtract fractions, we need them to have the same denominator. This is called a common denominator. If fractions that we are adding or subtracting do not have the same denominator, we cannot complete the calculation until a common denominator has been found. Let's have a look at an example. 1/4 add 3/8. Because they have different denominators, we need to find a common denominator before we can add them. We look for the lowest common multiple of the denominators. The lowest common multiple is the lowest multiple of both numbers. To find the lowest common multiple of 4 and 8, we can list the multiples of each number to find the multiples that are the same. So, common multiples of 4 and 8 are 8, 16, 24, 32, and so on. The lowest of these common multiples is 8. Because one of the denominators is a multiple of the other, 8 is a multiple of 4, it means we only need to change one of the fractions for them to have a common denominator. Always remember to check if one of the fractions you are adding or subtracting has a denominator that is a multiple of the other, because it will make your calculation quicker and easier to complete. Now we know that we need both fractions in our calculation to have the denominator 8. We need to find the equivalent fraction in eighths of 1/4. We can find an equivalent fraction by multiplying the numerator and denominator by the same number. We know we need the denominator to be 8, so we've had to multiply 4 by 2 to get 8. Because we've multiplied the denominator by 2, we need to multiply the numerator by 2. 1 multiplied by 2 equals 2. So 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. We can check this with fraction bars. 1/4 means that the whole is divided into 4 equal pieces, and we have 1 of them. 2/8 means that the whole bar is divided into 8 equal pieces, and we have 2 of them. We can see from the fraction bars that 1/4 and 2/8 are equivalent. If you need a reminder about finding equivalent fractions, there is another video that can help you. Now we can change our calculations so that we are adding fractions with common denominators. 1/4 add 3/8 becomes 2/8 add 3/8. Remember, when we add fractions with the same denominators, we just add the numerators and the denominator stays the same. 2 add 3 equals 5, so 2/8 add 3/8 equals 5/8. This gives us our answer. 1/4 add 3/8 equals 5/8. Now let's look at a subtraction calculation. Is one of the denominators a multiple of the other? 10 is a multiple of 5. If we find the equivalent 10th fraction of 3/5, we will have a calculation with a common denominator. If we want the denominator to be 10, we need to multiply 5 by 2. Because we have multiplied the denominator by 2, we need to multiply the numerator by 2. 3 multiplied by 2 equals 6. That means that 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10. Now we've got a calculation with a common denominator. 6/10 subtract 3/10. 6 subtract 3 equals 3. So 6/10 subtract 3/10 equals 3/10. This means that 3/5 subtract 3/10 equals 3/10. Now it's your turn to have a go. Remember to check if one of the fractions has a denominator that is a multiple of the other. Pause now while you answer the questions. How did you get on? Check your answers. 1/3 add 3/6 equals 5/6. 9/10 subtract 1/5 equals 7/10. 3/4 subtract 7/12 equals 2/12. This answer can also be simplified to 1/6. 2/3 add 5/9 equals 11/9, which equals 1 and 2/9. Are these statements true or false? Prove your answer. Pause now while you solve the challenge. How did you get on? Check your answers. 7/8 add 1/4 equals 8/12 is false. The person has added the numerators, 7 add 1 equals 8, and the denominators, 8 add 4 equals 12, instead of finding a common denominator and adding the fractions. 7/8 add 1/4 equals 9/8 or 1 1/8. 2/3 subtract 1/6 equals half is true. 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. 4/6 subtract 1/6 equals 3/6. 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. I hope this video has helped you to add and subtract fractions with denominators that are multiples of the same number. If you're still looking for more maths help, we have lots of these videos on the Twinkl website, so make sure to check them out. Thank you for watching.
Hi, this video is here to help you with adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. You may find it useful to watch the videos on adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominators and adding and subtracting fractions with denominators that are multiples first. Let's have a reminder about fractions vocabulary. The denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction. It tells us how many equal parts the whole is divided into. The numerator is the number on the top of the fraction. It tells us how many equal parts we have. So for 3/9, the whole has been divided into 9 equal parts and we have 3 of them. When we add or subtract fractions, we need them to have the same denominator. This is called a common denominator. If the fractions we are adding or subtracting do not have the same denominator, we need to find a common denominator before we complete the calculation. Let's have a look at an example. 1/4 add 2/5. Because they have different denominators, we need to find a common denominator before we can add them. We look for the lowest common multiple of the denominators. The lowest common multiple is the lowest multiple of both numbers. To find the lowest common multiple of 4 and 5, we can list the multiples of each number to find multiples that are the same. So common multiples of 4 and 5 are 20, 40, and so on. The lowest of these common multiples is 20. We need to convert 1/4 and 2/5 into fractions that are equivalent with a denominator of 20. Let's start with 1/4. We can find an equivalent fraction by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the same number. We know we need the denominator to be 20, so we have to multiply 4 by 5 to get 20. Because we've multiplied the denominators by 5, we need to multiply the numerator by 5. 1 times 5 equals 5, so 1/4 is equivalent to 5/20. Now we need to find the equivalent fraction for 2/5. Again, we know we need the denominator to be 20, so we've had to multiply 5 by 4 to get 20. Because we've multiplied the denominator by 4, we need to multiply the numerator by 4. 2 times 4 equals 8, so 2/5 is equivalent to 8/20. Now we know that 1/4 is equivalent to 5/20 and 2/5 is equivalent to 8/20. We can replace them in our calculation so that we have a common denominator. Our calculation is now 5/20 add 8/20. Remember, when you add fractions with the same denominators, we just add the numerators and the denominator stays the same. 5 add 8 equals 13, 5/20 add 8/20 equals 13/20. This gives us our answer 1/4 add 2/5 equals 13/20. Now let's look at a subtraction calculation. We need the fractions to have a common denominator, so we need to find a common multiple of 6 and 4. When we list the multiples of 6 and 4, we can see that the common multiples are 12, 24, 36, and so on. The lowest of these is 12, so 12 is the lowest common multiple of 6 and 4. We need to convert 5, 6, and 3/4 into fractions that are equivalent with a denominator of 12. 5, 6 is equivalent to 10/12. 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12. Now we can replace the fraction in our calculation with their equivalents so that we have a calculation with a common denominator. 10/12 subtract 9/12. 10 take away 9 equals 1, so 10/12 take away 9/12 equals 1/12. This means that 5, 6 subtract 3/4 equals 1/12. Now it's your turn to have a go. Remember the steps to go through. List the multiples of each denominator, identify a common denominator from your lists, find the equivalent of each fraction with a common denominator, rewrite the calculation with the common denominator, and finally complete the calculation. Pause now while you answer the questions. How did you get on? Check your answers. Pause again if you need to take a closer look. Half add 2/7 equals 11/14.
6/10 add 2/3 equals 1 4/15. 5/6 take away 3/8 equals 11/24. 6/9 take away 5/12 equals 1/4. Well done if you remembered to find the equivalent fractions to some of these answers.
Now for a challenge. Add all three of these fractions. Pause while you work through the method. Well done if you realised that you needed to find the lowest common denominator of all three fractions, which was 20ths. Feel free to pause the video if you would like more time to look at the answers. If you're looking for any more maths help, remember we've lots more videos just like this one on the Twinkl website. Thank you for listening.